Anybody can change at any time, period. I really do believe that I've broken the chain in a cycle of bad news, not only in my personal life, but like from my father to my grandfather. And I never thought that I would be able to do that. Straight up. Whoever thought that I'd be able to do that? Be a dad to like these kids that I fucking love for real, and my wife that has supported me.
What shifted for you?
I really do believe in three things in regards to happiness. I was a drug addict and an alcoholic from 13 to 23. By the end of my freshman year in high school, I was a full-fledged party animal and selling drugs, never sleeping at home. So there was like no blueprint, and it just got worse and worse. Ultimately, I ended up overdosing. I have vague memories of kind of coming in and out of consciousness with it. Oh my God, man, you've really gone too far. And 4 hours later, I was there again. And I slept through work. He was like, "You're done, man. I'm not gonna watch you die on my dime." And I begged him for my job. You're a minute late, you're fired. If you drink a sip of alcohol, do a single drug, I'll find out you're fired. Go to this meeting. If you listen to us, you're gonna have an awesome life. And if you don't, we're not gonna chase you, and you'll probably end up dead. But we're gonna make it super easy for you. And dude, those guys saved my life. And I've changed my habits that almost killed me to habits that make me the guy I am today. That's why I created a business called Kreatures of Habit to help people make better decisions. Through all these moments in my journey, I've learned that on the other side of fear is freedom. Run to the fucking fear.
I feel like when we met through our mutual friend Lance Armstrong, he put us together to chat about Creatures of Habit, right? I mean, sure, he wants us to meet and but he's put us together for that. And at that point, I think a day or two earlier, I think I shared this with you. I was done with, private equity investing. I've been doing so much of it and just had this epiphany through a podcast that I had hosted that I was like, I need to shift everything. Like I'm committing no dollars to anymore. And Lance sets this up and I'm like, obviously I play golf with him enough and he talks about you almost every time. He comes over.
Jesus, look at that. Of course it's Jen Cohen.
Oh, there we go. Sorry. All good. He talks about you when we play golf. You got to meet this guy. He's got a podcast too. And we're doing this stuff and oatmeal. And I'm like, oh, awesome. I'd love to meet him. Oatmeal is like, didn't excite me, but I was like, I get it. Okay. The guy's a great guy. So he sets this up and I'm like, I just want to hear the story. Right. And if Lance is like, going to bat for you as much as he was. There's something more to it than just investing. And it's like, we might have been 5-6 minutes into the call. And I'm like, okay, got to loosen up the strings here. You just be present with what's happening and get out of this strict setting these boundaries of which I really do need. And I'm orienting that way in the investing world, but I just saw in you someone that I wanted to be in business with for the next 25, 30 years. I'm like, this guy he's wired differently. He's had an incredible journey. He's taken so much medicine from that journey and you get shit done. And so was just so impressed. And even when I felt like I was going to invest, I ended up investing more. Just, I don't know why, but super grateful for the intro from Lance and that we had that conversation. And that conversation in itself was a podcast. It was like just listening to you tell the story. And we'll get into the story because it's such an important part of your journey and Creatures of Habit and all the other, the meatball shop and Seymour's and all the things you've done. But I'm so grateful to have you here in Austin. Unfortunately, I'm leaving tomorrow, so we're cramming a lot in today, but we're doing it.
Whew. Thank you, man. I'm like sitting here listening to you and for years, I could never smell the roses. For years, literally. Like up until recently, actually. And I'm sitting here listening to you say all these nice things. And it's like, I can accept it now. And it's such a, I didn't know that I was going to start with this, but I'm literally like listening to you, Lance Armstrong, a guy that I met about a year ago. He and I have developed this awesome friendship and relationship, right? He introduces me to you, and I immediately felt a connection to you. And then you introduced me to Scott, and Scott and I got on really well. And I'm just sitting here and I'm like, man, like, not is this real, but it's real. It's real, dude. And it's okay. And I want to just make that statement that, like, accept the kindness that comes your way. Because I spent years not being able to do that and just not smelling the roses and all nose to the grindstone, powered through. You hit the peak and you smile for a minute and walk on, and and so I just want to say thank you, man. That was really nice. It was a really nice introduction.
Well, I love you brought that up because it's kind of been a common theme talked about with Boyd the last 2 times he was on the podcast, this idea of upper limits. And I don't know it that well, but the idea is when things are going really well, the nervous system doesn't feel comfortable. And so it self-sabotages in some way. So we get back to that comfort of like, okay, things can't really be that good. And in some ways, I got the sense that you busted through that upper limit and just said, no, I am allowed to feel this good. And I am worthy of all the love and praise and adulation and all the amazing things that people say and they really mean. They're not just, trying to butter the nuts a little bit. They really mean that about you. It's the energy that you give off. It's how you show up. And again, I've met you just recently. But in the interactions we've had, and again, just Lance won't stop talking about you. I'm like, okay, I get it. I want to meet the guy too. Right. And I'm grateful for this happening and excited. I want to stay present with what we're here for, right? What we're working on right now, and supporting you in that. But I just it's one of those, I can just tell it's one of those relationships that it's going to be such a cool ride and it's going to take on many different forms, but I'm here for it.
This morning I've been plowing your podcast and I've been listening to a lot of your podcasts. I am a podcast junkie. I listen to a lot of podcasts, especially when I'm meeting with somebody to either do a podcast or have them on my podcast. I just try my best to due diligence, and for whatever reason, I just told you about my crazy travel day. My son's 9th birthday was last night, and my family is like everything to me, truly everything to me. They just are. Anyway, I do not sacrifice my family for anything. Right. It doesn't, if you were like, hey man, we can only do it on Saturday, I definitely would have said, hey man, I'm sorry. Gotta wait until next time. But I woke up at 2:45 this morning, which was actually 1:45 because of
that's right.
Yeah, because of the time change. And I went to bed at 10 o'clock at night. Before the time change, it was really 11. And I get in the car at, I'm in the car at 3:15, 3:30, and I'm just driving down. It's a 2.5 hour drive to the airport. I live in rural New York, I live in the deep. And normally I was telling you, I fly out of Albany because it's the best, but I had to be in the city on the 13th. So I just drove down to the city and I said, I'll end up back in the city. And the thought that was coming to me, and interestingly, I love getting a lot of sleep. I'm like a 6.5 to 7 hour guy typically, But for whatever reason, if I don't get a lot of sleep, as a matter of fact, if I get like a small amount of sleep, my brain is just on fire. I'm feeling like I'm on fire right now. And in the drive down, I was thinking about the heart for whatever reason. I was thinking about the heart. And I think a lot of us conduct in life through the body and the brain. Body and brain, you know? And we very rarely think about the deep down heart. Like the heart is like people say that the second brain is in your gut, which may be true.
Yeah. But
really, the heart is like at the core, arguably one of the most important pieces to try to connect with. And so I really do believe that I've broken the chain in a cycle of sort of bad news, not only in my personal life as me and my person, but like from my father to my grandfather. My grandfather was a hardcore military naval officer, World War II, in the military for 30 years. It was very hard on my father. My father was a juvenile diabetic, so he wasn't able to get into the military. And obviously that was devastating to my grandfather. So I'm sure my grandfather projected sort of failure onto my father. My father was an athlete, but he couldn't play sports at any level because of his diabetes. This is before. Anyway, my father was just an angry guy. He was an angry dude. And he was not meant to have children. I don't think everybody is meant to have children, and that's okay. But my father was not meant to have children and did. And interesting story, like I had this reading. My wife's best friend's aunt is this crazy medium.
I love that shit, by the way. You guys talked about it with Lance, and Lance like, I wouldn't do it. It's like fucking.
Oh yeah, I talked about it on Lance.
I'm fucking all in. What do you got?
Yeah,
it's fascinating.
So I did this reading, and she told me when she was connecting to my father that my father had this block from his heart to his head. And it really just made me think about the heart and how powerful the heart is as an organ, obviously, because it keeps us alive.
Yeah.
But ultimately, like, there is real meaning in the heart and the soul. And I do believe that my mission, or what I'm here to do, is to understand my heart and lead with my heart. I am a gut guy. Like I surround myself with smart people. I love having smart people around me, although I definitely need to be in charge. I know that about myself. Mm-hmm. I have to be. And I put myself in positions where I am not in charge, or it's like a 50-50 split who is in charge. And I found myself in tough situations there. And so I surround myself with really smart people, and I allow them to guide me. And most of the time they have autonomy to do what they want. But, I lead with my heart, and sometimes I get steamrolled. Mm-hmm. And I take that. I will take that. Yeah. I will fucking take it, because I know that where I'm coming from is my truth. And so, like, my overwhelming hunger to develop relationships and be with people and connect with people at scale, like, that is what I love to do. I really do. Like, my wife fucking hates it. She's the best, but she is not a small talker. She's just not. And she will be the first to admit it. Love you, Donna. But if you walk around with me anywhere, it could be at the fucking Hillsdale Farmers Market, man, I am creating relationships because I see people and I listen to people. And honestly, the podcast and being in hospitality, it's just, if you're not a listener, it's just not happening long term.
I would argue that that's not small talk. It's couched as small talk because you're making conversation with someone you maybe don't know, but you strike me as someone that gets to something meaningful. There's some nugget that both of you will take from that exchange, and it's not, so I just want to make sure people aren't thinking you're just bullshitting and, about the weather with people, that it's a meaningful, it's a connection. And so, dude, a lot comes up for me right now. I got to hit on this because I'm very much a gut guy. I think it's what made me, no, I know it's what made me a successful trader. I was good with math, but like it felt like all the good stuff happened when I just felt like this is the right trade to do. And I couldn't explain necessarily why, but I just knew it. And I've been guided by that for a long time. And I've had a really difficult time getting to the heart, even though I think on some level with the podcast, you'll see heart out of me. I think in other relationships, there's just been some protection there.
Some visceral fat.
Yeah, big time, And so I would say that over the past weeks, months, that has started to fall away. Everything's become more alive. I've connected to whether it's my different practices, certainly to my wife, to my children, to my friends in a different way. I'm 52. I've been married almost 24 years. It's like to find a new way is exciting because I didn't know that was going to happen. But I bring this up to ask you what shifted for you when, a time ago you weren't able to receive maybe what I shared with you to open the podcast, but yet now you can. Is there a deeper connection to the heart? Did it have to do with the medium you talked to? Like, can you identify what it was? Because I think when we open our heart, we actually, like, I'm getting praise from people about things with the podcast and whatever else I'm sharing that I may have gotten it in the past, but it's landing way differently right now. It's like people are seeing me, but it's more like I'm seeing me. And that's the shit that's like blowing my mind. Because I know people have said these things to me before, but on some level, I didn't quite believe it. And I think I know today that I believe it. And so when they say it, I receive it in a much different way. And so I'm just curious, like with your journey, like what shifted for you?
Well, I really do believe in three things in regards to happiness. You could say success, happiness, but ultimately for me, that is happiness is how I feel about myself right now. It's not a linear thing. It's about how I feel about myself right now. And so the three things that I really do believe are required to sort of be happy more than not are consistency. Because the more, you commit, you do something every day, all the time, it develops confidence. And I think a lot for years, I had this lack of confidence. I had to shed a lot of damage, and this isn't like victim talk. This is like, I had a lot of trauma as a kid. I had I'm grateful for it. I am, but I'm still shedding a lot of the shit, and I'm still, the more I dig, the deeper I go. And so the consistency ultimately helps me develop this confidence, and confidence is necessary for courage. And I do believe courage is like the key, in everything, right? Like, in order to take the step, you have to have some level of fearlessness. It's not like you're not scared, but I think there's a big difference between being scared and being fearless. Fearless is plowing. Courage is plowing through. Though you're scared, as long as it's for the good. And I say that to my sons every night. What is courage? Courage is being scared and doing it anyway, as long as it's for the good. And so I do believe that it's just been it's been compiling over time, where I will hear people say nice things to me, and I've just been shedding. And, before, when I couldn't, I would be like, oh, come on. No. Oh. Now I'm like, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. I've even said, people will say, thank you so much. And I'd be like, oh, it's all good. No. Now I'm like, you're welcome.
Wow. That's a fucking major step.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Wow.
You know? And so for me, I really don't know if it was necessarily this. Well, one thing I can say, actually, this is probably has something to do with it if I really kind of reflect in the moment. So I was a drug addict and an alcoholic from 13 to 23. I died and came back to life. I got sober. And when I got sober, I took the commitment and dedication and loyalty and all that shit that I applied to the alcohol and the drugs, which was real, very real.
Yeah.
You know, like that is true dedication when you're an addict like that. And so I
guess you become very resourceful.
Very resourceful, like beyond.
Yeah.
You know, like I'd wake up in situations and be like, oh gosh, good thing nobody sees me here.
Yeah.
You know? And then, but you kind of parlay that into good habits.
You parlayed that into good habits.
I did.
That's not
everybody's story.
Right.
But I did. And I was, you know, and I like was just kind of full steam ahead in this other version of living. But there was still so much for years. I mean, I've been sober almost 20 years. So
coming up July?
August 2nd. Yeah. And so it's taken a long time, you know, to accept love and it probably started, you know, but what I'm getting at is that for years I was just such a hard, and I'm still a hard charger, but it's very different now. Mm-hmm. Building the first business, not taking a day off for 2 years, my wife looking at me in the eyes and saying, I love you, but this can't happen this way. I can't do this. This is too much. Then us, you know, buying a home out of the city and like me finally for the first time, even before I started the business, because I was so focused on fitness and competing and, you know, for the first time, really, like I broke away and we would go upstate on the weekends and I'd be alone with my wife on the weekends, stressed out about the restaurants, but like we'd choose a project on the property and then the two of us are just like, you know, brush hogging and fucking weeding and pulling the grapevines off these crazy old trees. And like, what really I think made a massive shift in my life was the fucking pandemic. And I hate to say this and people, whatever, you know, say what you want. It was the best thing that's ever happened to me, honestly. Mm-hmm. It really just was, because I was going to go and I don't even know if we talked about this for Creatures of Habit, but I was ready to open up Creatures of Habit, the restaurant, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Just let me say this.
Yeah.
You're covering so much ground right now.
Yeah.
We are going to come back to some of this, but you certainly paint the broad strokes of this. And then we're going to fill in a few of the details because they are fascinating and it's really important to, I think, for people to really drop into your journey. So, yeah. But go ahead.
So
but yes, you did.
You know, we just call, I'm just, for the purpose of this specific story.
Yes.
I'm just going to
broad stroke that son of a bitch.
Yeah, right. Like plow right through that. I'm saying plow a lot today.
We're fucking plowing. Are we pushing sleds later? What the fuck?
Plowing.
You're not in upstate New York. There's no snow here, bro.
Feet up, dude. But anyway, the pandemic hit. I was going to open up another restaurant concept, and I was like, no, that business model is out the door. I've got to pivot my whole life.
And this was right before the pandemic, right? You were...
Dude, I'm telling you, I was going to sign the lease like last week of February.
Yeah.
So, and God, thank you.
And then news came up. Good for you for paying attention to that, because it didn't really... Was it like March 12th when shit really shut down
there was
or something
rumblings,
like that?
But, you know...
I guess if you're in that bit, you're probably paying a little more attention than I would have been, but...
Anyway, what happened was we basically moved out of the city. And we kept our apartment in Brooklyn. We had just bought this beautiful apartment in Brooklyn that we were like, oh, finally, you know, we have like a nice space with a backyard and, you know, and then we moved upstate for temporarily. All right. And there was I'm a New York City born and raised dude, right? Yeah, like I love the outdoors, man, but I'm not an upstate guy, you know? You're looking at a real upstate guy right now. I did not know I had it in me, but we did it. We packed a bag. The bag got a little bigger. We went back down. I was like, you know what? Why don't we rent the thing out on Airbnb? Just rent out the house, the apartment in this city. We'll probably, we'll cover the mortgage, whatever. Just like, and then that went on for a year. And then I was like, this is amazing up here. Like we didn't even, I created a new business that I was very excited about. But really what happened was I had breakfast and dinner with my family every night. Breakfast every morning, dinner every night. And I had never done that in my life. I had dinner with my mother, father, and sister maybe twice in my life at a table outside of going out for dinner, which happened once every eight months. So we never ate together ever. We lived in this tiny little apartment. Everybody brought their food to their own area and we never ate dinner together.
Damn.
And in the restaurant business, me being a restaurateur at the time, man, like, Don and I would have date nights, but ultimately those years and creating those businesses, she would come to the restaurant, and that was like how we hung. When we had kids, the first 2 years of Finn's life, I just didn't. It makes me emotional to say, but I didn't have dinner with him the first 2 years of his life, and anyway, we moved upstate, and a paradigm shift happened for me, and I understood that I can be a creative entrepreneur and believe in my heart and do what I want to do and set real boundaries. And I think that is when things started to change for me, where I started to believe what people were saying. Hey, dude, you did all this shit. You're still young. You got a long fucking runway ahead of you. And you got to just start smelling the roses, dude. Smell the fucking roses. And so I didn't think we were going to get on the tangent here, but
buddy, this is a tangent podcast. So just, you're in my wheelhouse.
Yeah. So I really do think that, connecting with the people I love more than anything on the fucking planet is, has really helped me see deeper into the heart. Yeah. And accept, be able to like welcome praise and be in it. I still struggle with being in it for too long.
Understood.
But
well, yeah, it seems to be that you had obviously the 10-year period of drug and alcohol, abuse, addiction. Prior to that, just knowing a little bit about your family life, not a lot of great feelings about yourself. And so there's a lot of unwinding of that.
Yeah.
And shedding, as you say. And so you do enough of that work. And as you said, the consistency to show up and be committed. And we're definitely going to pivot to that, this idea of the importance of habits. It is something, it's so funny. Like, I don't know what came first, but as my life changed over the past 5-6 weeks, one of the integral pieces was consistency, showing up, having daily non-negotiables, having annual goals, having 25-year goals, and committing to these things. And in what I'm hearing from you is, as I reflect on me, it's like, oh, I fucking believe in me now. I didn't believe in me before because I wasn't fucking showing up. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have structure. And I was a fucking good guy and I was doing some cool shit, but there was a part of me that was missing. And it's not the rigidity of a plan and following it. It's bro, you want to do these things? You want to be this person? You want to have this kind of impact on people, on your family, on whoever? You got to fucking earn it. And you earn it by showing up every day and doing the things. And I never was a goal setter. I didn't get it until I got it. And then like every little decision every little decision I make, and I don't mean everyone, but like all the little decisions become very binary. It's like, is this yes to this? Is it getting me towards my goals or further away? And everything became much simpler. I could just feel into which way does this go versus the mind saying, dude, you're in great shape. You don't need to work out today. You don't need to, you did the cold plunge yesterday. You don't, like, all the ways I would talk myself out of these things because I look good in the mirror, or, you know, we've done well, whatever the reasons were. There's a million of them. Those all go out the window when you're orienting towards something greater than yourself. And just as I'm hearing you speak about this, this is something that you've been doing for almost 20 years, showing up consistently. And it's an understatement to say it changed your life. It is such a part of who you are. I'd love to get into a little bit of the background that led you to obviously your experience with Frank, and then with Marcus, who had such a tremendous impact on you, and these guys who have shown up in your life when you didn't have a true father figure in a way that you needed it. And so a guy like Frank would show up, and Marcus, I don't know how old he was. It didn't matter. He showed up as a father figure, someone you could trust and who saw in you stuff that you probably didn't see in yourself. And Frank in the same much way, he couldn't see you do this anymore when you didn't have any bearing on that. So I would love, just in any way that feels right for you, to just share a bit of this journey.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to actually start by saying that anybody can change at any time, period. Anybody can change at any time, period. There's no buts. And in my opinion, from my experience, and I'm not some unique, like, higher being. As a matter of fact, I was like a scumbag.
I love that. You think I'm a higher being? Fuck you, I'm a scumbag.
Yeah.
I was a scumbag. Yeah, I love that.
So I'm just here to say that I'm like a living, breathing example of someone who committed, built confidence, and then acted in courage to change my life. What I want to say is that I am my number one priority, period. I am my priority in life. Mm-hmm. And that goes before my wife, before my children, before any business, before anything. And I am so confident in saying that because, you know, we said show up. You said show up a few times. There's no way I'm showing up here today without taking care of myself in the best possible way I know how to. This is not happening. It might happen once in a while, but it's not happening consistently. And so I put myself as the priority in my life. That doesn't mean I sacrifice time with my family or time with my friends or time at work. That means that I fucking wake up early in the morning, tiptoe out of my bedroom so I don't wake up the wife and I don't rustle the dogs. And I have this wonderful, I love Michael Chernow routine that I do. And you know, I've been traveling a lot. So there's like the ideal morning routine, the ritual. And then there's hey, this is what I do when I travel, which is very different than what I do when I'm at home. And even sometimes at home, I'll miss it every once in a while. But I've had more recently than not, you know, I've got this crazy long thing and I love there's certain moments, there are certain things that I do that I still have to fight for. Like, you know,
like what?
Like 20 minutes of meditation. Mm-hmm. I got to fight.
Do you in transcendental meditation?
No,
or just a meditation for 20 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, I've done I have not done transcendental, and I know a lot of people love that style of meditation.
It's just 20 minutes. That's what I wondered if that was it.
No, I do. I've done apps, I've done, but now I'm kind of just in this world where I've got a full body scan that I do for roughly 33 breaths. And then I do 100 breaths, nice and slow breaths, where I'm really, really trying to connect with myself, and it's so hard, man. It's so hard. It's just so hard to stay focused and present, and maybe we'll touch on this. I don't know if we will, it would be cool to talk about it, but I've started this breath work practice that's just absolutely the deepest form of therapy I've ever done in my life.
Well, then we should definitely talk about it.
Yeah. But
I can't have you, holding out on the folks here.
Dude, I'm just here to say that I had no idea what was coming when I started doing this holotropic breath work. I don't know, have you heard of it?
Oh yeah, I've done it a while ago, but I haven't been back to it.
I mean, talk about just release of like deep crevice release, like crazy.
All right, so what's the architecture of it?
Well, I'm not so, well, I guess what I want to get to that. But what I wanted to say is that like I do this thing in the morning and people have sort of like, oh God, you're one of these morning routine guys, oh, another one of these morning routine guys. And in my mind, I'm like, whatever floats your fucking boat, man. Whatever you got to do for you. If you hating on my morning routine is going to make you feel better, fucking go for it. Take it. All yours.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah.
I know that when I'm done with this thing at 6:25 in the morning and I finish by walking past my mirror in my garage after I've jumped out of the cold, catch myself in the mirror, kind of with a smirk, walk over to the mirror, look at myself and say, go get him today. Finish.
Yeah.
You're a good dude. Go get him. Like I say that to myself. And then I go into my apartment, I go into my house. Typically my wife and kids have just gotten up. Sometimes I get in there right before they get up, just gotten up, and I am electric. I'm electric. I just spent an hour and change fully indulging in shit that I could never do any other time. I could never literally feel good about doing the stuff that I do early in the morning if it was in place of having breakfast with my kids or having to be at work or being with my wife after the kids go down. Like, I just wouldn't feel good about it. And so I sacrifice the time early in the morning when everybody's sleeping so that I can be the best motherfucker possible. And man, like, I don't care what anybody thinks about that. This is like true life enhancement optimization shit that really makes me feel good. Like for real, no artificial flavors. All and so sometimes I'm like, wow, this is a lot of shit, man. That's a lot of stuff. And so sometimes I'll put something to the side. Sometimes I won't journal for a while. Sometimes I'll not read in the morning and read before I go to bed at night. But I have this thing that really does give me this opportunity to show up and show up strong. And I'm an entrepreneur, man, building a startup. I'm a father and I'm a husband. And all those things are hard, like real hard, Luckily, my marriage is so strong and I've got this incredibly supportive wife. And I honestly owe the sort of calm, cool, and collectedness and even keeledness of my children to my wife because they're fucking easy to deal with and they're loving and they're caring kids. They're not batshit crazy like a lot of the other kids that we hang with. But the entrepreneur part of my life is hard. It's hard. And but a sick part of me just loves it. Loves that. Like wakes up ready to lift up rocks and just, I want to know what's happening. I want to know I want to figure it out. I want to create, innovate, do cool things that are going to make people go, oh, and I think it's just in me to do that. Anyway, but yeah, anybody who's thinking about doubting themselves or feeling like they're not showing up or not coming to the table at least 90%, I promise you, it has nothing to do with the other people or other things in your life. I promise you. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're not the priority, if you're the priority, you begin to understand and realize that the other things that are happening are just way out of your control. And all you can do is be of service to those people or things to help them be better. But if you internalize it, somebody shows up in a bad mood and you fucking wear that bad mood on your sleeve, it's not them, dude. It's fucking you.
Mm-hmm. Well,
that's my experience.
Yeah, it's personal responsibility. And I mean, again, I can speak from my own very limited experience with the how my life has changed having a morning routine. And it, I had one that was kind of bullshit for a couple of years. That was like a 5-minute meditation, and I would struggle through it and I didn't like it. And I might mix in a few other things, but really nothing was landing for me. And then as I started to really put some structure in there and commit to myself, it became not only much easier, but it became much more expanded. And the meditation went from 10 minutes to 12, 20 to 30. And all of a sudden it's heart-centered. And I start with my family. And then, I go on to things that I want to create and what those goals are and how it all looks. And it's a little different every time. The structure is similar, but I'm just able to feel into what I'm meant to do in that moment. And some days, like today, I kind of woke up a little bit late because of daylight savings and I had to meet someone downtown. So I had a smaller window. So I had to cut it a little bit short. In the past, I would have beat myself up about it. I would have pushed the meeting off later. I would have done whatever instead of like, what's the purpose here? The purpose is ultimately to connect. It doesn't mean I have to go for 30 minutes every time, but I want to connect. I want to be centered. I want to start my day that way. And I do. And it's just like, they talk about making your bed in the morning as the book, I forget, the Admiral put the book out about that. It's like, there's a reason why these things people are talking about, because they work. And it's that consistency. And it's like, we've talked about it. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it's like showing up for yourself as the number one priority. And it's different than what people maybe originally thought when you said that. It's not selfish.
It's the opposite, man.
It's self-interest in the way that you're able to show up for everybody. And you got to, fill up the cup and all those, sayings, but that's ultimately it. If you are depleted, you can't show up for others. You can't be your true self and who you're meant to be.
Well, that is selfish because you spend more time thinking about yourself negatively, that self-centered fear stuff. You spend more time thinking about yourself negatively than you do thinking about the other people around you positively. So when you're not taking care of yourself, like, you are way more selfish than when you are taking care of yourself. And so that's why I literally say, if you're not at the top of your totem pole, you might as well put yourself at the bottom, and I really believe it. I think it's a selfless thing to do. Again, sacrificing time with the people you love or putting work off to do these things is, not what I'm suggesting. I think the number one excuse that I hear from people is, oh yeah, well, I just don't have the time. And I'm like, okay, well, what time do you go to bed at night? And they're like, oh, and I'm like, well, if you went to bed at 9:30, you have the time. I'm not telling you to sleep 5 hours, but I'm telling you that, like, what are you doing that's so important between 9:30 and 11:30 at night? Mm-hmm. Right? Like, I get it. You don't want to, some people would potentially look at like forgetting about what I do as like professionally, but maybe some people would look at my life and say, oh, this guy goes to bed at 9 o'clock. He wakes up at 5. He's kind of, does a lot of the same things. Maybe that's kind of monotonous. And in my mind, I'm like, man, like, I feel like I'm just fired up and excited about it, and also I also want to say that, if you are living that kind of lifestyle where you're consistent and one day, 2 days, 3 days, you miss something, like it's all good. Like I'm never, like if I don't get it done, if I choose not to do it, I'm like, all good. No problem. I'm cool. I've done, I know who I am. This is what I do. Mm-hmm. I'm giving myself a day. Fuck it. I don't need to, I think that beating myself up in that situation is actually not living the purpose that I'm gunning for, which is I'm doing this for me. I'm not doing it for anybody else. In terms of oh man, that's crazy cool that you do that.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it for that. I'm doing it because I know it really does. I benefit immensely, which ultimately makes everything and everyone around me benefit from that. And I think that's just like a powerful thing to be able to understand and not say, oh, that's selfish. Oh, that's selfish, man. You put yourself as a priority before your wife and kids. Man, that's selfish. What a selfish guy. Because I've had people say that.
Well, that's old programming too, right? It's like we're supposed to put everyone first. It's like, actually, no, you want to see someone who's burnt out, they put everyone ahead of them and they've got nothing to give. And you see it a lot. Frankly, I feel like you see it a lot with women who have this idea of what it means to be a mother and they don't want to have help and they're supposed to do everything themselves. And it's like, then they can't really show up in a way that's meaningful for them, but they're doing all the work that they're supposed to do because their mom did it. And that's been passed down. And it's like, that's bullshit. Like your mom did it, but what was her life like? Is there a way where you can bring help in? And maybe you can't, but I know many people who could and don't, to, shuffle off some of the extra work so that mom can be with the kids and be with her husband or whatever. And I think it's just so much of this stuff is so ingrained in us.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think also there's like a lot to be said for the culture that we live in too, right? We're like, we are supposed to be this certain way. And if we're not, people are going to look at us in, sideways maybe, and I think that's a lot of the influence of how people make decisions here in the United States of America,
Yeah. Get with the normies. What you're doing is not normal. And people that makes them uncomfortable to see you with that type of consistency. And it seems crazy. And why would you wake up that early to spend an hour to do what? Look, you're in fine shape. What do you need to do that? You need to be getting more sleep. You need to be like them just throwing their bullshit on you where they have no idea what it has meant to your life.
Massive for me. But to get back to your other stuff about the journey, I'll try to do my best to make it as succinct as possible. But I grew up.
I know you've had to tell the story a lot, but I appreciate you sharing it.
No, I it's my story, man. I want to try to tell it as many possible times as I can. I grew up in the city, New York City. There's only one city, and but I grew up in New York City, in the heart of it, in Manhattan. My family life was pretty rough. My dad was, like I said, my dad was a pretty angry dude and was probably not meant to have children. And so my relationship with my father was very, very violent, verbally, physically. And I knew early on that I needed to escape. And so that escapism started probably in kindergarten, first grade, where I realized that I could sleep over at friends' houses. I went to a big public school, lots of kids. I was in an after-school program, which I'll talk about as well, there's something that I've been really thinking about talking about that I have not spent a lot of time talking about, but I'm going to start talking more about it because it's important. But so I was in this after-school program, my dad was an electrician and like a lighting designer, and my mother was a secretary. My dad was very sick, stopped working in 1990 and was on permanent disability. And so there wasn't a lot of money flowing. And I think that also sort of like fed into my father's anger and frustration because we didn't have a lot of money. Not that we were starving ever, but there just wasn't a lot of money going around. And so I figured out that I could sleep over at friends' houses. And I knew, I just knew that like this was a way for me to get out of the house. And so that became a pattern for me. I wanted to sleep out as often as possible.
Yeah. How many nights a week or in a month would you stay out during a particular period?
Probably, I would try to sleep over at a friend's house at least once or twice a week.
Yeah.
And my mother, who I love dearly, she did her best. She was thrown into a really rough situation too, because my dad was, very intense guy. And I do believe that my mom was afraid for her life if she would have left him. So like my mother was like, it's probably safer for him there than here. And so I began this process and I think I should just talk about this now because it is something that really I've been thinking a lot about. So I was in this after school program. I was put into every kind of after school program possible because my mom worked and my dad had zero interest in being involved in my life. So he was never like, I'm going to pick up the kids or any of that stuff. He just didn't. He like locked himself in his like in a little corner of our apartment. And he was a hoarder. He was like, our apartment was just filled with shit. It was terrible. And so there was a Cub Scout leader, and this guy, Dan Sayre, was a Cub Scout leader, and he ran the after school program for the public school. And I loved this guy. He was like the best guy. He literally treated me like a son, but he also molested me. And I don't talk about that really, but it affected me deeply. He molested me from like probably like first, second grade to like fourth grade. But I loved him. I didn't even know there was anything wrong with what was happening. And luckily I wasn't raped, or at least that I can remember. But he definitely, I used to sleep at his house, and it wasn't pretty when once I realized what had happened like later on in my teens. And so I was watching this documentary with my wife that I hadn't thought about it in a long time. I don't really talk about it much, not because I'm ashamed of it anymore. I've come to terms with it, but it's, it definitely fucked me up. And I was watching this documentary that came out on the Boy Scouts of America last year. And apparently this happened to 82,000 men that have come forward against the Boy Scouts of America, because the Boy Scouts of America is a hotbed for pedophiles. And there's no regulation, they say there is, but there's really not. And all of these pedophiles were gravitating towards the Boy Scouts of America and the Cub Scouts. Anyway, because I wanted out so bad of my parents' house, I flocked to this guy who was grooming me. And, I do often say that I don't regret anything, or if I can go back and change anything, I probably wouldn't with the journey. But that I would have changed. I certainly would not want to have to, like, if I could go back and just like literally snip out just that one piece, I would. Because that dude really did take advantage of me and other kids in just a really terrible way. But this was a way for me to escape. And honestly, at the time, man, I was much happier there than I was home. I looked at this guy as like my dad, and he would take us fishing and all the shit. So that led to, I played hockey. I was like a big hockey player. Yeah. Were you a hockey player?
Fuck yeah.
Oh,
I played in college.
Oh, sweet.
I was a goalie.
Oh, cool. So I started playing street hockey in that after school program. And then I graduated to roller hockey and became obsessed with roller hockey. And I would literally play roller hockey until 10 o'clock at night in the park as a kid. And then finally I was able to like figure out a way to get secondhand equipment to go play ice hockey at Sky Rink. And I played ice hockey and just fell in love with the sport. And I would sleep at the rink. And so that's what I would do. I would sort of sleep. You know, there was open ice at like 11:30 at night, and all the men, like the older dudes, would show up at 11:30 at night and play open hockey. And I would get into open hockey, and then I would literally hide in the rink and sleep at the rink. And that's kind of where my introduction to drugs and smoking cigarettes, and because I was hanging out with these older kids. And so I started really partaking in that. And that became my next escape, the alcohol and the drugs. And it started with smoking cigarettes in 6th grade, then smoking weed the summer between 6th and 7th grade. Then, you know, like kind of smoking weed. My friend Danny, she went to a private school, and at the private school, they had more drugs than the public school.
Oh yeah.
You know, and so she would come home and we would try all these different things. And by the time I was, 13 years old, I was pretty well versed in the world.
Damn.
By the end of my freshman year in high school, I was a full-fledged party animal and selling drugs and like never sleeping at home. Child services had gotten involved in my household because, you know, I had slit my wrist to try to get my father's attention. They put me in a mental institution to evaluate me, thinking that I was suicidal. And, you know, I wasn't. I was just really trying to get like some love and affection from my dad. And I did not get that. He actually kicked my ass for doing that. And so I kind of just like broke off from the family unit. And then one day, I don't remember if it was a day or a night, but I was 15. My father and I had been, you know, fighting at that point. He'd say something to me. I'd say something back to him. It'd get heated real quick. He'd punch me. I'd punch him. And there'd be like a scuff. And that was happening more regularly as I got into my teen years. And the cops were getting called because we lived in an apartment building, and they'd hear the rumbling and they'd call the cops, and the cops would show up. So finally the cops show up. Child services shows up. They basically took my mother aside and said, look, you know, this can't happen. You guys, you live in a 1-bedroom apartment. He shares a room with his sister. You say he sleeps on the couch, but we all know that's not true. He's told us that he never even sleeps at home. He's a minor. Either you got to move out of here and take the kids out of the situation, or we're going to take that kid to foster care. And I was like, when I was made privy to that information, I'm like, foster care. I'm like, I'm like making, like, I can afford my own apartment. You know, like I'm working in a restaurant. I'm selling drugs to my whole high school. Foster care, like, catch me if you can.
Yeah.
No way. I'm already out.
Yeah.
Like, you're late to the party, guys.
Yeah.
You know? And so that's when I really sort of just like became this New York City nomad. And
so they took you out of the home?
No.
Oh, you just beat it then. You're like, I'm out.
I just was just like, yeah, catch me, you know, like find me.
Yeah.
You know, that's not happening. You know, the one thing that I was surprised about though was that I stayed in school. I finished high school.
No shit.
Finished high school. They didn't really come pursue me at high school, which was weird because they knew where I went to high school. But you know, I lived in an NYU dorm with this girl. I lived in an apartment. I ended up in this crazy lavish loft in Soho with I just like I always landed on my feet. I always ended up in cool situations. But my drug and alcohol abuse just got worse and worse. And, you know, there was a moment where I was probably like 16, 17, where I had realized what had happened to me when I was younger with Dan, the guy who molested me. And it was scary for a minute because I was literally like contemplating killing him, in a deeply, under the influence, thinking about, I can't believe this happened. I'm going to find him. I'm going to kill him.
Yeah. What's that process like for you? Like
now?
No, like when you were in that, like, how did you not go through? Like, was it just that's visceral. Like I can only imagine what that must have felt like, and just so determined, like I'll get him back, or whatever the thoughts were.
I don't know really how I navigated through it, because I think I was obviously angry, but I was also scared. And it was just like I was scared that it had happened to me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realize that it had happened to me. And then once I realized that it happened to me, I just got scared and shameful. And I was like, did I like that? Did I want that? Is that what I want in life? Do I want men to touch me like that? I don't feel like that's what I want. But do I? And like as a teenager, man, that's like a weird thing to go through, especially when you're like, you got girlfriends and, and so it was just like a really rough thing to have to go through as a kid. Especially drunk and on drugs.
And with no family system to support you.
So there was like no blueprint, and it just got worse and worse, and I stayed working in restaurants, nightclubs. I always had a legitimate job. There was a lot of, I could sit here and tell you stories all day that are crazy stories, but ultimately it got to a point where it became drinking and using cocaine, whether I was smoking cocaine, sniffing cocaine, around the clock for days. And, I'd add some pills in at the, after a run to kind of try to come down. I knew in my soul that I was a good person. I knew that I had a heart of gold, that loved people, but I couldn't get out of my own way, and I had no confidence. And the only way I could see myself in a not even see, just numb that fear that I had of myself. But it was through drugs and alcohol, where I was able to just like come out and be this guy. And so I found this woman who, was using heroin, very attractive. Her and I shacked up. Ultimately, I ended up overdosing, and she dragged me into a bathtub, turned on the cold water. I knew I was dying. I have vague memories of kind of coming in and out of consciousness with it. And she just, I remember looking up and the cold water just hitting me in the face on the floor of the bathtub, face up like this. And I didn't die. I'm sitting here with you.
Fuck.
Yeah. But it was terrifying. And I remember getting into the bed after probably about a half an hour of being in that being in the bathtub with the cold water, shivering, shaking, and saying to myself, oh my God, man, you've really gone too far. You are so lucky to be alive. Like, you have to figure out a way to stop. You have to stop. You have to stop. It's too much. And so I left that apartment. It was July in summer of 2004, hot New York City summer. And I was walking west. I remember this like it was yesterday. I was walking west on 13th Street from Avenue C to Avenue B.
What did your physical condition look like at this point?
I was a zombie. I was nowhere near fit. I wasn't fat. I wasn't skinny.
Yeah.
I was just a shell of a being,
Face, complexion, skin.
Puffy, just, man, like, just, tiptoeing around my apartment when no one was home, thinking that people were watching me, and, getting into fist fights often, and just really just no direction, no plan. And I said on that walk, I was like, that's it. It's over. That's it. You're done. You have to stop. And then 4 hours later, I was there again. And I couldn't. And that's when I kind of was like, okay, dude, this is it. You've chosen your path. Now you have direction. You are going to fucking die this way. So let's go. Let's plow. And I kind of went on a death march for 2 weeks. and anything and everything that came my way. I was just ready. I wanted to die so bad. I just wanted it to end. And I didn't know that there was a way. I didn't know that there was a solution. I didn't know that there was another way of living. I really didn't. I didn't really even know what sobriety, like, I was also young. I was 23, right? So, you know, in my mind, I'm kind of like, I'm young. I could do this. I'm young. I shouldn't be dying, dude. I shouldn't be within an inch of my life. It was just way too far. And now I knew that I couldn't stop. So I was like, okay, that's it. Let's go. Let's just see how long this lasts. And I remember it was a Monday morning, probably August 1st. And I'd been up for 2 or 3 days with 2 dudes who were on my roof. I lived in a tenement building right above the restaurant that I worked at, Frank. We're on the roof. The 2 friends said, all right, man, we're kicked. We're calling it. And I was like, suit yourself. I had warm beer and, cocaine. And I went right downstairs, 1 flight to my apartment. It was hot as hell in there. I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror when I was walking by, kind of like how I get a glimpse of myself every morning now. And I say, Mike, you're a good dude. Go get him. Similar experience, except very different person externally and internally, actually. And I kind of looked at myself and I said, I hate you. You should die. Talking to myself as if I was another person. I hate you. You should die. It's time. Jump out the window. You're on the 6th floor, man. It would end if you did it. Just do it. Just do it. It's time. You can't stop. You gotta go. And I didn't do it. Honest. I didn't do it. I don't know what happened, how that conversation I had with myself was like a real, I didn't do it. I woke up 16 hours later, I blacked out. And I'd slept through work because I had to work that next morning. And I slept through work. And really the only thing that was tethering me to life, I don't know how I still had my job, but I did. A lot of us drank and partied at work in the restaurant business in New York. I mean, it's just kind of the culture. But Frank Prizanzano, who I love, he was like, you're done, man. I'm not going to watch you die on my dime. I can't. You've done this. This happened too much. And you're dying. Everybody around you knows you're dying. You're not hiding it from anyone, dude. Like, it's blatantly obvious. I can't have you work in a restaurant like this. And I don't want to watch you die. So I'm not going to pretend to try to fix your problem, but I'm firing you. And man, that was all I had left in life, really. I had burned a lot of bridges and I begged him for my job. Truly, please, Frank, I will get sober. I swear to God, I'll get sober. And there was something that just happened that morning. That something had shifted. I can't tell you exactly what. But Frank was like, if you come to work at 8:00 in the morning and clean the restaurant with the porters, call me when you get here. If you're a minute late, you're fired. If you drink a sip of alcohol or do a single drug, I'll find out you're fired. You got to get sober. Let me think about that if you can do this. And so that was the last day I ever had a drink or a drug. And I reached out to an old friend who I worked with at a nightclub, who I knew was sober, Karen. She was dating this dude, Marcus. And I didn't really know Marcus, but she said, hang tight. I'm going to send help. And Marcus showed up and he sat with me and listened to my crazy story and believed me. And I lied to him, of course, all sorts of lies, I've done, I was just trying to impress him and get approval from him like I do with a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I've come to learn that, you know, when I feel like I'm doing that, I'm like, well, you don't need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to do that anymore. But that was my life for a long time, trying to get people's approval. I want my dad's approval, you know, find it to other men. And he just fucking listened to me. And that began the journey of getting sober. And so basically what happened was, it's not a traditional getting sober story, because he definitely told me to go to these sober community meetings for sure. And he said that was a massive piece of it. But he wrote this plan for me with this other guy, Gavin, who I actually spoke to the both of us. I didn't speak to Marcus in the last couple of weeks, but Gavin and I were texting yesterday. So these guys are still very tight, very good friends of mine. And they basically said, go to this meeting and then come to this place. And I was like, okay. Went to the meeting, and then I went to this Muay Thai kickboxing academy called 5 Points. At the time, it was on Canal Street, or just off Canal Street and Broadway, and you know where Soho kind of meets the Chinatown area. And they sat me down and they were like, if you listen to us and take our suggestions, you're going to have an awesome life. And if you don't, we're not going to chase you, and you'll probably end up dead. So we're going to make it super easy for you. You know?
Door A or door B.
Right. And so, you know, the plan that they kind of articulated for me was very similar to the plan I have in my life today, which is wake up as early as you can, roll out of bed, drop on your knees, and ask God for help. You can call it God, you can call it universe, you can call it energy, you can call it anything you want. Just know that you're not the one in charge. So just ask for fucking help, because you need help, young man, you know? And go take a piss, wash your face, brush your teeth, put on your contact lenses, put on your running shoes or a pair of sneakers, and get outside immediately. Go for a walk, go for a run, move your body. It could be a block, it could be 10 miles. We don't care. Just move your body in the morning. Come back, make yourself a bowl of oatmeal. Add whatever the hell you want to it. It's easy, it's satiating, it's healthy. Once you're done with your oatmeal, go to an AA meeting. Sit down in the front fucking row, raise your hand, and tell everybody who you are and why you're there. Who you are is Michael Chernow. Why you're there? Because you are a drug addict and an alcoholic. And I was like, oof. Okay. And then he said, right when you're done with that, get on your bike, because I had a bicycle, and ride down to 5 Points every day. And meet us there at 12 o'clock. And you're going to train for 2 to 3 hours. And we're going to teach you how to be a man. We're going to teach you about discipline and integrity and how to fight back the right way, how to get back up, how to be a person living a life that's very different than the life you're living today. And when we're done training, you're going to have chicken and broccoli. You're going to take a nap. You're going to go to work, because I was in the restaurant, and you're going to have chicken and broccoli for dinner. And you're going to go to bed as early as you can, and you're just going to rinse and repeat. And that is your life in a nutshell. Stick to the plan, stick with us. You follow that plan. Check in 10 years and tell me where you're at. Tell me that we were wrong. And dude, those guys saved my life. Not only did they save my life, but they just introduced me to a world of wonderful fucking shit. And I do what they told me to do then today. You know, and I've changed my habits that almost killed me to habits that make me the guy I am today. And today I can honestly say that I'm a husband and a dad. And I never thought that I would be able to do that. Straight up. Almost every time I talk about it, I get sad, because whoever thought that I'd be able to do that? Be a dad to like these kids that I fucking love for real. Like, and my wife that has supported me the whole time through all the crazy shit you know, I'm a husband and a dad, and I can't believe that that's real. Because if you took a snapshot of what my vision of a husband and a father was, and you said, okay, like, oh, sorry. I didn't know that was coming.
Please.
But you did that, and you saw the little kid that was experiencing all that shit, and you just had to put money on it, just like at a poker table. And everybody at the poker table were gamblers. And he said, okay, we're going to paint a picture of me who I am today, and then me who I was August 1st, 2023. Who do you put your money on this kid is going to end up like long-term? Everybody's putting their chips on this guy. Mm-hmm. Everyone. You'd have to be dumb not to, right? Maybe the one-off dude was like, I'll go all in on this fucking dream. And yeah. So I just began this path of understanding that I can change, and understanding that there's a solution for people like me who are really good humans, just didn't know that your past doesn't have to predict your present or future. You know, that like your past can predict your present or future if you allow it to. And today I'm so grateful for the shit that I went through, because I could put my kids down and pinch myself and just say, dude, man, your father never put you down. Like, he never put you to bed. And sometimes it's a pain in the ass to put my kids to bed.
Yep.
But when I'm doing it and I'm in there with them and I'm like, I got these two dudes.
How old are the boys right now?
6 and 9.
Okay.
It's the best thing that's ever happened in my life. Like I feel like I'm just at the precipice of starting my business career, man. I'm 42, I'm 43. I've got 40 plus years ahead of me in business. You know, I believe that because I love what I do. And I know, doesn't matter how successful I am or will be, there is nothing that I'm going to love more by a billion than the family that I've created, because of where I came from. And so, you know, the life that, and honestly, I got to draw it back to there now in my life. You know, there's a lot of other things I do, meditation and sauna and cold and all those things. But really what, you know, if anybody's listening to this and struggling in any way, or whether it's with alcohol or drugs or just life, I'm just here to tell you what you put into your body and how you move your body will move mountains in both directions, right? Like what you eat actually makes who you are. Actually, the food that you put into your body makes up the fabric of your being. And so you get to choose, what do you want your fabric to be? You know, how you move your body is going to dictate how you move through life. And those two things, along with abstinence from alcohol and drugs, in my case, movement and nutrition, have shaped my existence. They just have. You know, once I got into it, man, I competed in Muay Thai. Then I got into long distance running and started running these long distance races. Then I got into bodybuilding and started competing in bodybuilding and became a pro bodybuilder. And then I got into CrossFit and got way too injured, way too fast.
I know that feeling.
Got into CrossFit post 40, man, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, if it were to all end today, that would suck.
Yeah, it's not gonna, but okay. If it'll all end today.
I feel like, you know, I'm happy. I'm genuinely happy. I really am. You know, and I should, you know, obviously business is a big part of my life. And I love creating business. And I've got this business partner who, man, like, it's crazy how I ended up with this guy. You know, like, the two of us are like true love fest with each other, man. And you know, we're not best friends. We're business partners.
It's awesome.
And he respects me and I respect the living shit out of him, you know? And yeah, dude, habits will make you or break you. That's why I created a business called Kreatures of Habit to help people make better decisions, you know? So crazy story, but here we are.
Buddy, that was so beautiful. I mean, I won't even try to put a bow on that beautiful share. The only thing I will say is, and speaking about being a father, being a husband, and how emotional and that really touched you, touched me, and touched everyone in the room. Just this sense of like, is it real? Right? And from where I'm sitting, it's not from a doubting of it being real, but it's like, how can it be this good?
Mm-hmm.
And that really comes through. And I really feel that just in the way you shared that you know that you deserve it. And I can only imagine what it must feel like to have kind of crossed that journey of thinking I'm the opposite of being able to deserve something like that, to where you sit today, and just in gratitude of it and in awe of it, and not taking it for granted, and showing up every day for you so that you can show up for them. It's just so amazing.
You know, man, I always say this because I feel it to be if I keep this at the forefront of my daily mission, there's only one thing in life we all have to do perfectly if we want to reach whatever goal or be happy. And in my opinion, all we have to do perfectly is get back up. That's it. That's it. Like, we are all going to fail a lot. We are all going to fall in the sand. We're all going to crash a car. We're all, you know, like, we're all going to put money into a business and it's not going to work. We're all going to start a business and it's not going to work. You know, if that's the thing you do, you're all going to gun for the promotion and you're not going to get it. The only thing we have to do perfectly, in my experience, is get back up. And honestly, I really did learn that in the rings of Muay Thai, because there was one thing. I'm not a big guy. And there was one thing that all the other guys in the gym knew about me, is that unless you knocked me out, I'm coming.
No shit.
Unless you knock me out. I've never been TKO'd. I'm getting up. I'm getting up. I'm going to get up and I'm going to come at you. And I attack life like that. There's only one thing I have to do every day, no matter how hard it gets. Because most people throw in the towel. I write an email newsletter to the Creatures of Habit community every week. And it's just a fun way for me to just be human. Like we didn't talk a lot about like brand, like, there's brand and then there's product, right? And Creatures of Habit is a brand. It is a real brand. It is far more than high protein overnight oats and a sleep support powder. Creatures of Habit is me and the community of people that I love to be with. It's how we think, the things we do, the people we want to be with, the clothes we wear, the way we celebrate, the way we mourn. It's a culture of people that I am really connecting with. And so I am humanizing this brand in a way that like I've never really been connected to through a direct-to-consumer wellness brand, where I write them emails from my email address to 37,000 people every Thursday.
I receive them now. Yeah.
And I share what the hell's going on in my life. And I just wrote an email about, the last email that I wrote was patience. And the one before that was about, God, I'm losing it right now. What the hell was the one before that about? Anyway, I don't remember. I lost my train of thought, but ultimately getting back up and attacking life, in my experience, is something that we all can do. We all can do. And if you're not doing that and you know that, oh, this was the thing. So for years when I was, coming up in Alcoholics Anonymous, they probably hate me for saying that, Alcoholics Anonymous, but it is just whatever. I don't really care. Judge me. They used to say, the old timers, now it's kind of funny. I'm considered an old timer there, but they would say things like, they would say this specifically: don't leave before the miracle happens. Too many people leave before the miracle happens. It takes time. It just takes time. And I used to hate hearing that shit because I was like, man, when am I going to start feeling better? When am I going to start looking better? When are the cravings going to go away? When? And you can live in the fucking whens. Or like take a breath and stop living in the future and be right here, right now. All you got to do is get back up, dude. That's all you got to do. Don't leave before the miracle happens. Most people bail. Most people split in everything: fitness, nutrition, business, family, marriage, And I'm not saying that there's unhealthy situations that you should definitely consider. If you're in an unhealthy situation, I'm not saying stick around and, be a doormat. But, I am saying that I do believe the difference between the good and the great is patience. I think it's patience.
It's something that as men, we don't have a lot of. I don't think we're born with a ton of patience. I think we're singular focused, go-getters. Like we see how to get to the thing, and that serves us in a lot of capacities. And I'll just speak for myself. As I've started to practice patience, a whole new world opens up. And sometimes it's forced patience on you. Shit. I don't know if this is a perfect comparison, but you recently hurt your back deadlifting. I hurt my back doing a hang squat clean that I hadn't done for a few years. And there's an element of patience in the healing of that. Now, it doesn't mean, for instance, I'm just going to sit back and let it heal on its own. Like I am going to do things proactively to help speed up the recovery and engage in self-care. But this happened, 2 days ago. And I was super bummed because me, you, and Lance were working out today. I was like, I'm fucking jacked for that. I leave tomorrow for spring break. So I don't have a lot of time for this thing to heal. Was feeling sorry for myself when it happened. I was calling myself a dumbass, doing all the things. And yesterday changed my attitude and just really cared for it. It's like, I told you it was 85% better. It's feeling like 88 right now. And what was interesting as I reflected yesterday, you know, there's a whole concept of things aren't happening to me, they're happening for me. It's like I finally turned the corner on this. It's like, well, this is happening for me. And it's like, what have I found out here? Right? From a very practical level, from your email, I learned about the pliability app. Is that right?
God, the best.
Downloaded that yesterday and I did like 3 sets of exercises, did some this morning. I learned about the So Right, but I didn't buy it until you were in the text, be like, yo, get the So Right. So that's coming. Unfortunately, it's not going to be here till tomorrow morning. People showed up for me, man. My wife, as she always does, is just there to care for me. What do you need? My daughter, who's a junior in high school, tying my shoes. She's as cool as they come. And she was tying my shoes because I had barely, like, they were out of the house. I couldn't even put socks on. Like, I had to just slip some sneakers on. I could not bend over. I got back together with my Theragun and it was so funny. I told you I was listening before this happened. I was listening to the episode where you had Jason Worsland on your podcast from Therabody. So I've been using that. I've been using the Hyper Ice, thing around my back to heat that up. And it's just like one thing after another. I was supposed to play golf with Lance yesterday and I couldn't play. My son invited me to go over to his place to watch basketball. So I went and played basketball or watched basketball with him. I would have loved to play with Lance, but I want to see with my kid, so just all these things started to unfold. It was like, this was really good. And it was probably my body's way of saying, bro, you've been hitting it really hard right now after a pretty good layoff. So maybe you need to do a little more working in. So anyway, for me, there was some forced patience for me with that. But I'm curious, with your back injury, like what came out of that? Because I know your first instinct was super bummed you're not doing the CrossFit workout, open workout.
I had an injury over this past summer, and I had a bad back injury in 2012 from jiu-jitsu and just terrible form deadlifts. But I ruptured my L4, L5 disc. So that really put me out for a while. I did a full year. And this is like after years of Muay Thai and then transitioning into jiu-jitsu and then like not wanting to do yoga, put it that way. You know what I mean? It's like my main shtick. But because of how severe my injury was, there was no choice. I had nothing else. So I did like a full year of Ashtanga yoga and I really got like into it. But it really did help me build strength in my back. And so I did a full year of Armstrong yoga. And then of course I just like slowly built up back to, strong guy. I hadn't had an injury. I hadn't had sciatica is my arch nemesis. And that injury was the worst from 2012. I had unbelievably severe sciatica. Like I'm talking about just could not stand up more than 45 degrees, had to sleep with 3 pillows under my stomach. Oh, brutal, dude. It was like real bad. And so as you can imagine, fell in love with CrossFit. I was one of those guys, right? Like walk into a CrossFit gym, 2 months later, doing CrossFit for real. 8 months later, I'm like, I'm going to the games.
Yeah.
I'm going to Masters games. I'm doing it. I'm going. And I just loved it. I loved learning all the new things and challenging myself and getting my ass kicked and just, just like all the stuff we talked about, Olympic lifting, I loved it. I injured myself in June. Sciatica came back in full effect and I couldn't do anything. And it was at first, obviously, because movement is such a big part of my life and makes me feel really good. I was like, oh my gosh, what have I done? Like, this sucks, man. This sucks. But I also said, this is what's supposed to be happening right now. You need to freaking chill, man. Like you've been going too hard for too long. And this is probably your higher power forcing you to slow it down a little bit. Like you don't need to go to the CrossFit Games. You don't.
Yeah.
You may want to, man, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
It's okay. And it also made me think, who was I doing that for? Who was I doing that for, really? Was it for me or was it for my coach at the CrossFit gym? I thought about that for a minute and I was like, let's reflect on that. And then I was like, I need to chill. I need to chill. That said, and I did chill. And I took from June 15th to like miraculously, I told you that my wife and kids and I go to Denmark every summer in August. 2 days. And I was hobbling around 2 days before, and I had gotten cortisone shots and shit wasn't working. And it was like 2 days before the Denmark trip, disappeared, gone. Gone. And so I was able to be in Denmark and not be all bummed out. And then I slowly, I did not go right back to CrossFit when we got back. I've been strength training and doing some Metcons and things like that, but like I'm not full on into CrossFit again. However, when the CrossFit Open, I knew when CrossFit Open came, I was going to do the CrossFit Open, of course. And I love it. It's fun to do that. And man, and honestly, it was again, I looked at it as chill out, dude. Chill out. You need to give your body a rest. You are 43, It's okay.
Yeah.
You've been doing it a long time. So when that happened, it sucks when your back goes out, right? It's just like you're kind of tweaked in some weird position. Luckily I have an inversion table at my office. So
I was bummed. I know. I was like, I didn't have access to one. It would have been real nice.
Dude, I was on the inversion table, every 30, 40 minutes for a couple of minutes at a time, got up the inversion table, felt better. But I said, I'm not going to lift a single weight, no matter how good I feel, until I come to Austin to work out with Cal and Lance. And who knows, right? Like I was like, yeah, if we start working out and my back feels funky, I'm not going to continue to work. I'm going to, I don't know, figure something else out. But I did rucking and I did the pliability app up until today. Yesterday morning, I did a little bit of lightweight, high rep, time under tension, dumbbell work. And that felt great. So I was thinking that I was like, I'm going to tell these guys maybe we'll transition to that. Maybe if our back is fucked, we will do that. But man, my body really needed it. Like I felt so good. I feel good. Like I feel lean and I feel light. And I just feel like my body it just needed that break. It needed the break. I think a lot of us, specifically in the fitness arena, we're like, we take, one day off or, for me, I try to take off Thursdays and Sundays from like lifting and I'll do active recovery stuff. But like a full week off of your modality is a long time.
Yeah.
So I'm happy I did it. I needed it. I'm not happy my back went out. But, having perspective like that today without beating myself up is definitely a step in the right direction.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's it. That's growth for me. It's, again, I've gone there like you're a dumbass. It's like, okay, like, yes. And like, just learn from it. Like, don't just like maybe some hang power cleans. Maybe that would be fine.
Dude, at the end of the day though, it's part of it, right? Like, if you're an athlete, injury is a part of it. This is.
Sometimes you got to push.
Yeah.
And then, I was, somebody reached out yesterday and homeboy had just blew out his Achilles a couple weeks ago and had surgery. It's like, he's in the fucking gym doing his thing. I'm like, okay, not so bad for me. It's like just a little more perspective and it felt nice to slow down and have a lot of active recovery stuff. And again, to get with the pliability app, I was like, it's so easy. I was watching the UFC. I was doing it. I was at my son's place watching basketball, doing it. Super easy.
I love it, man. I do it in my kids' bedroom when I put them down at night. Do it on the floor. They take typically 20 minutes to pass out anyway. So sometimes I'll do 20 minutes. Sometimes I'll do the full 45 if there's a 45-minute work, stretching thing. But since I've been doing it for now. It's been, a little while. It's helped enormously in a bunch of ways. My mobility, flexibility, just especially when I do it in the evening, which tends to be when I do it. I love it. Plug to pliability. Don't work with them. I'm here.
Yes. All right. Well, all right. Two last things. We got to talk a little bit about Creatures of Habit, the product.
Yeah.
We just have to.
Yeah.
Because I know the story. I want to just dive into that a little bit. And then I want to talk about your boys in poker. And I just love watching you teach them. But anyway, in any order that you'd like. Yeah.
So I guess I'll just, so I got sober. I met my wife. We developed this. We got married 2 years after we met. I went back to culinary school. I got a degree in culinary arts and a degree in restaurant management. I wrote a business plan. I opened up my first business when I was 28 called The Meatball Shop. It was
Hold on. Just give a little more context on the business plan because this is when you got the scholarship, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a fucking dope. Like, don't just gloss over that.
So I was at the French Culinary Institute, which is one of the more sort of, prominent culinary institutes in the world. And it happens to be in New York City, which is awesome. And so I was at the Culinary Institute. I was halfway through my chef's program and they had partnered with Cornell, a bunch of Cornell professors and some local kind of like lawyers and real estate managers. Like these guys all came together, French Culinary, Cornell, and a couple of local like legal people to develop a restaurant management program for the French Culinary Institute. And so it was the first time they'd introduced this thing. It was a beefy program and it was not cheap, but I was like, okay, so this is going to add like whatever it was, 14 or 16 more months to my thing. And I can kind of overlap them. I could do the back half of my culinary program and start this at the same time once they launch it. But it was 40 grand. And I was like not making I didn't have 40 grand to just, offer. So they offered one scholarship for the restaurant management program. And the scholarship requirement was you have to deliver a fully baked business plan. As real as you can do it. And that was kind of exciting for me because I knew I went back to culinary school. Actually, funny story. When I was 25, 2 years after I got sober, I knocked on Frank's door, Frank Provenzano, and I said, hey, dude, I want to see if, can we have a bite to eat or a coffee or something like that? I want to talk to you about something. And he was like, yeah, sure. So we hung out and I was there to tell him that I wanted to open up my own restaurant. That's what I was, wanted to sit down with him. And he looked at me and he said, I love you, Mikey. I just don't know if you have it in you. And that lit a fire under my ass that was like rocket fuel. And now if you ask him, he said that was exactly his intention. But he said, and as I was leaving, he was like, but if you're serious about it, you should go to culinary school. And I was like, next day, French Culinary. When's the next opportunity?
Yeah.
And so I got a student loan for the French Culinary. Anyway, the scholarship was fully baked business plan, and I was excited because I was like, man, this is a great opportunity for me to see, to run the course. And so I took it very seriously, man. I like met with real estate brokers and toured restaurants and did the whole thing. Wrote the plan. I mean, it was awesome. And the business was it's actually, by the way, an amazing, and anybody who wants to do it, go for it. Good luck. But the business plan that I created was a restaurant called Homemade. And it was basically a burger restaurant, but you can choose any protein you want. And every day there was somewhere between 15 and 20 artisanal cheeses on the menu that you can choose any protein you want. And then you can have the cheese paired with the protein. So you can have cheeseburgers with like crazy, French cheese, Danish cheese, Spanish cheese, American cheese, like all sorts of different cheeses. So it's basically like a charcuterie kind of cheese board, but with burgers.
Yeah.
And no one's done that. I think it would be fucking awesome to go be like, hey, can I have a bison burger with, camembert? Good idea. But I wrote the whole thing and I submitted the plan fully baked. And sure enough, I won the scholarship and it was awesome. And so I did the restaurant management program and graduated from that. And I was 27 at the time. And I knew I wanted to open up this restaurant with my childhood best friend, Dan Holzman, who I'd kind of like parted ways with, but like not parted ways, but like I always had Dan because he wasn't a drug addict. He partied, but not like me. I had this second kind of other life, but I would always crash at Dan's house. Like I would show up cracked out and he would just take me in and his mom would take me in and I was just kind of like part of the family. Always supported me for whatever reason, just like never kicked me to the curb when I was going through all this shit. So I knew, and he's an amazing chef. He's the best chef I know. He was working in the finest restaurants in New York, all over San Francisco, just like boom, I killed it. So I knew that I wanted to open up with him. So it took me a year to get him to move back to New York to open up the meatball shop. Anyway, we opened up the meatball shop. It's now a legendary, iconic New York City restaurant, even though the pandemic completely ravaged the business. We went from 5 restaurants or 6 restaurants before the pandemic to only 1 now. But it's a 14-year-old business and people love the meatball shop. We opened it up, little tiny restaurant on the Lower East Side, and we just smashed it out of the park. And we opened up 5 more. And then Daniel and I began to bump heads. We couldn't see eye to eye on where to take the business out of the city. And so I had sold the partners a bunch of my equity to try to salvage a relationship, even though our friendship was destroyed. I took that money and invested in another restaurant concept called Seymour's, which I built myself. And then I ultimately ended up taking on a partner that I knew I was going to have buy me out when we were ready for it. So we scaled Seymour's to 6 restaurants, and then boom, Kreatures of Habit was the next thing for me when I sold equity in 2019 of Seymour's. And I found this unbelievable restaurant space. Like, man, just like 1-level structure, 20-foot high ceilings, 8 skylights, beautiful brick building built in the late 1800s in Brooklyn. Just epic. Just my dream, And I was like, Kreatures of Habit is going to be a wellness brand. It's going to start with a restaurant. And that's how I'm going to be able to build community, build a marketing hub, create content, but also use as an incubator for a line of consumer packaged goods. Because I knew that this was the direction I wanted to go in. I knew that I didn't want to scale restaurants anymore, but I just knew restaurants. So I didn't think that I could just go from restaurants to this.
Yeah.
So about to sign the deal. Late February 2020, heard the grumblings. The deal got pushed a little bit, and obviously the pandemic hit, and we didn't do the deal. And so I had to sort of rethink my career because nobody knew what was going to happen as time continued on, and more things were happening. They shut down the city. Restaurants were going out of business. Landlords weren't negotiating. They were happy to have people leave. Like, it was nuts. So I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to really rethink this. So I hired an executive coach. I worked with her. She helped me to sort of sift through some of the stuff that thought I was stuck in. Like, I had to have a restaurant. Like, that was who I was. And ultimately she was like, dude, you're a creative entrepreneur. You're a culture dude. Restaurant is like just the medium for you. You don't need the restaurant. You're a people guy. You want to be with the people. The restaurant is just a artifact. And so I was like, whoa, okay. And that's when one of my sort of tools in my creative process, and I've used this in in Meatball Shop, Seymour's, is I will go on intentional 3 to 7 mile long runs, no music, no headphones, but a pad and a pen and paper. And I'll just go. And I'm thinking about development, creativity, innovation, really trying to get deep with like look inside, no distractions. And it's hard to do that anywhere else, right? But I kind of, when the juices are flowing and my heart rate's going and I'm alone, like I feel very creative. And so I was on this run upstate. We had moved upstate. I was on this run and I was like, man, I'm going to do Creatures of Habit. It's going to be consumer good. What am I going to do? What am I going to launch this with? And then I went right back to Marcus. And he told me to fucking eat oatmeal every day. Every single day I've been eating oatmeal to this very day where I'm sitting across from you. I had my meal one on the plane, And so I've been eating oatmeal as my first meal of the day for almost 20 years now. And when I was on that run, I was like, man, holy smokes, it's right here in front of me. Mm-hmm. If I can, and my oatmeal concoction then was, and I'm so grateful I don't have to do it now, but for years it took me 20, sometimes 25 minutes to make. And I'd cook the oats, then I'd let them steam, then I'd add the protein powder, then I'd stir it, then I'd add the seeds so the seeds didn't get soggy. And I do all these things but the formula is the same. Every morning on the side of my oats, I would have my supplement stack, which was omega-3 fatty acids, a probiotic, digestive enzymes, and vitamin D3. Those are the 4 supplements I took every single day in the morning. And on this run, I was like, man, if I could figure out how to get all that shit into a pouch that people can easily make, well, then the meal that built my body, I could share with everyone. It was a pivotal moment in my life. It was like a win for me in a time when I needed a goddamn win. Like I started my day with oatmeal, made me feel good because I felt like I was making those guys proud, which felt good for me. Yeah. I needed that. And so I said, man, if I can create this, I'm creating a win for people that they can easily bring into their life. It's a healthy decision that I make every single day that really does help paint the picture of what the rest of the day could look like. Not guaranteed, but the chances of you starting with a healthy choice and making better healthy choices later on in the day are far greater than if you start with a fucking donut, right? Or just don't eat anything at all and like forget to eat until 3:00 in the afternoon, which a lot of people do. So I said, man, if I can figure out how to put this in the pouch, not only will I be able to stand behind this business wholeheartedly because it is as authentic to me as anything I've ever done, if not more, but then I can tell my story like I'm telling it right now. Then I can really, I couldn't tell this story like I tell it now when I was in the restaurant business. I can really tell the story now and I can really help people make better decisions. And I just like came back from that run just like on fire. And I said, Donna, I figured it out. This is what I'm going to do. And she was like, you're crazy. You have totally lost it.
No shit.
And I was like, the next day, I put $250,000 into a bank account. And that began the journey of Creatures of Habit. And I spent a year working on the formula. I connected with a guy in LA who was a natural formula guy who worked with me. And he I'm sure he hated me because, man, I was not trying to sacrifice anything. We went through over 65 iterations of it.
I was just saying, how hard is it because it can be done overnight. It can be done like on the go too, right?
So what we've learned now is there is no doubt this meal one, and I should probably say what it is, right? It's made with gluten and glyphosate-free oats, whole rolled oats. It's made with chia seeds, flax seeds, and pumpkin seeds, pink Himalayan salt for electrolytes. It has an awesome probiotic in it, digestive enzymes, vitamin D3, and the omegas come from the seeds. There is no doubt the best way to consume this product and the most convenient way to consume this product every single day is by making it overnight. And you just add whatever milk you want to add to it. It could be it can be almond milk, nut milk, regular milk, whole milk, raw milk, whatever you want. But any kind of milk you like, add it to the pouch of meal one in a jar. You mix it for 30 seconds, you cover it, you throw it in the fridge overnight, you pull it out in the morning, you loosen it up a little bit with some more milk or whatever, water, and it's delicious and it's good to go. And it's almost like a treat I kind of look at it as a treat.
It's a treat. It's definitely a treat.
But it's got nothing there's no sugar added to it. It's only sweetened with monk fruit, no artificial flavors, none of that shit. No stabilizers, no nothing. It's a very clean label. Yeah, so you can make overnight is by far and away the best way to have it. I didn't want to make an overnight oatmeal. I love the way I had my oatmeal, which was hot.
Yeah.
But you can have it hot for sure. And I still do have it hot, a couple days a week, but it's definitely way better overnight. And anybody trying it for the first time should definitely try it overnight because it's delicious and it's insanely easy. And it's a meal. It's not a snack. It's satiating. It's 350 calories. It's got 30 grams of protein per serving. I didn't mention that it's made with plant-based protein. It's got 30 grams of protein per serving. It's got 35 to 40 grams of carbohydrates from the oats. It's got 9 to 10 grams of fat from the seeds, and it's got 10 grams of fiber. It's a true meal. So, yeah, it took me a while to figure it out.
Well, and I've heard you say hey, if that's too much for you, then just eat half. You don't have to eat the whole thing. It keeps really well back in the fridge. And I noticed on Instagram, I haven't done this yet, but you'll often mix half and half with 2 different flavors.
Yeah. Yeah. So the way I do that is I'll open up a chocolate and a peanut butter because those are the 2 flavors that are just my go-to.
Yeah.
And I'll just do 2 of them. I'll do half chocolate, half peanut butter, half chocolate, half peanut butter.
Oh yeah.
And I'll have 2. You can make, in the fridge, the weird thing is that they actually taste better on day 3.
Really?
Yeah. So I'll make anywhere from 2 to 4 at a time.
Yeah.
And so literally it's just the ritual of me making it after the way I typically do it is I make it after dinner, after I do the dishes, I make my meal 1. And I do that for the convenience of it, but I also do it because when I'm making it, I always take a spoonful because it's just a little dessert,
I saw you do that on one of your videos.
Yeah,
I was I haven't done that yet. Okay.
I love it. I mix it, I make it, I add a little bit more liquid, I mix a little bit more, take another bite. It's just so tasty, And I've got a bit of a sweet tooth. We balanced it really well with salt and sweet, so it's not this overly sweet dessert, but it's definitely airs on the sweet side. And we've got 7 flavors, and it's bomb. And it took me a long time to make. And we're now about to launch. The next product run is going to be version 3 of Meal 1. So we just got back from Utah. We went through all the flavors. I really went there with the mission to just make it even better. And so we've added a little bit more oats to it. And we've pulled a little bit of the pumpkin seeds out. So we balanced out the macros and the calories. But we were getting people saying, hey, we'd love a little bit more oats. And so I've been trying the right additional oat ratio. So we did that. We enhanced some of the flavors. We were potentially changing up our probiotic. Not because of any reason outside of the fact that they're both really amazing probiotics. One takes a very, very long time to procure. One doesn't take as long. But it's so good. It's so good. And, there's a real community of people that we've built with the brand. We also have the nightcap, which is our sleep support, which is how you wind down at night. I spent as long on nightcap as I did on Meal 1. It basically tastes like Swiss Miss hot chocolate, but there's no sugar in it. It's got all sorts of great adaptogens and ingredients that have been studied with the clinical doses that we use to help you relax, fall, and stay asleep. So I have that every night. Start my day with Meal 1, finish with nightcap. And it's a brand that, and I call it a brand because it's I'm speaking to I'm speaking to a group of people that I'm so excited to share this with, and when you think about culture, when I think about culture, what does that mean? Culture defines a group of people, how they communicate, what they eat, how they dress, how they celebrate, how they mourn, how they dance, like, the music they listen to, the music they play. It's like a culture. And Creatures of Habit is a culture that is packed with people that just want to be better. Not better than, just in general. Want to be better. I always want to be better. I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to be better. And so I'm helping people on that mission with the brand. And I'm deeply involved in it. And I communicate all the time with them. Often. I love it. I love being able to talk to the community. And, I write those emails. I get tons of responses from those emails.
Dude, it's amazing. Yeah. And it's a beautiful description of a brand, or an example of a brand, and what it means to kind of create that culture. And it's backed by your story in such a beautiful, authentic way. And I mean, on so many levels, obviously the oatmeal, the history you've had with oatmeal, and then just the fact that, I mean, Creatures of Habit, habits are what help you get your life together. And it's not new, but it's something that many of us overlook. Hand up, me too. I'm fucking 52, and I really wasn't into the habit thing until recently. And so there's always room for that. And I love the idea that, like, I can want to be better, and I can strive to be better, and still be really happy with where I am today. It's not out of discontent for that. And I think that's an important part. So many times we're driven by, I just need this to be better. No, it's like, I want to continue to grow, and what don't I know, or how can I show up differently and more fully and get into my heart more and be more dedicated to myself and my partner and my kids and my community and whatever it is, fill in the blank. But I love that angle of it. It's not this striving like we've got to fucking,
it's not better than.
No,
it's
I love
better
that.
than. It's just better. It's better, for everyone. It's better, Also, habit, when we hear the word habit, it's like rare that someone's like, I've got this great habit of going to the gym. When you hear the word habit, it's like, man, I got this bad habit. I got a bad habit.
It's usually negative. You're right.
And I'm trying to change that. I'm trying to say, hey, your habits can also make you awesome.
Yes.
Right? Like, when you hear habit, typically it's bad before it.
It is.
Bad habit. No, very, very rare.
Chewing
You
my
say,
fingernails.
I got a
picking
great
my
habit.
nose.
This is a great habit.
Yeah, yeah.
Like bad
you
habit.
never hear that.
You never hear that.
I've got this great habit.
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous.
No one ever says that.
Ever.
Bad habit.
Yeah.
You got bad habits. It's all good to have bad ones. We all got bad ones.
Yeah.
But let me help you out a good one.
All right, let's talk about your two boys.
Oh boy, you're gonna make me cry again.
Let's go. I love a good crier.
My two boys. Yeah. Well, so Donna and I, we got married young. She was 25. I was 27. And no, 2007, 27. And that's young for New York City years, for sure. It's rare. People get married in their 20s. Donna was, when we first met, and probably for the first 10 years of our relationship, like in the air more than she was on the ground. She was super successful modeling career, and flying all over the place. And I was building business too, but when she met me, I was a bartender. So, like she was definitely on the road and I was bartending. Once I got out of the bartending game and started Meatball Shop, we were both very busy. And so like, we didn't really talk about kids. We were still kind of young. to have kids in our, whatever, late 20s, I guess, early 30s. But when Donna turned 30, before then, she actually, when we would have the conversation of kids, she didn't even know if she wanted to have kids.
Mm-hmm.
And that for me was hard. But once she turned 30, her career was not as insane as it was in her early and mid 20s. We started talking about the kid thing. And it was really hard to get pregnant. We tried for 2.5 years until finally the doctors were like, you have to do IVF. And what we found out was one of Donna's fallopian tubes was completely compressed from potentially scar tissue from appendicitis. She had her appendix ripped out. And so we did IVF, and we did it in Denmark because it was way more accessible. And she felt way more comfortable there. And the first one didn't take, the second one did. She had pulled a bunch of healthy eggs. We had like 3 or 4 of them in the fridge. First one, second egg was Finn. And it was a crazy story. Finley came out not breathing. It was really scary. He had the cord wrapped around his neck 3 times. I was holding one leg. The midwife was holding the other leg. I was ready to catch him. We were supposed to have it in the birthing center, but Donna was preeclamptic, so they put us in the hospital. Thank God they did, because when he came out, he was flaccid and blue. It was fucking terrifying. He came out. He didn't make a peep. She threw me to the side. Nurses rushed in. I'm terrified. I go over to Donna. I look back. They're shaking the kid, smacking him, trying, hitting his ass, shaking him, making him trying to breathe and scream. It was like the longest 5 seconds of my life. Honest. And he finally cried, and he was in the NICU for a little bit, but man, that guy, Finley, yeah, he's the changed my life for real. And then 2.5 years later, we went back into the fridge. And Dakota came. And so Finley and Dakota are kind of twins, 2.5 years apart.
Oh, shit.
And Dakota has this very, 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 very rare genetic thing. And you wouldn't know if you saw him. You might notice if I told you, you would be like, oh, okay, I see it now. But when he was 6 months old, we had gone to a bunch of specialists because he wasn't developing. The muscle wasn't happening. His eyes weren't moving, tracking. They basically took all of our genes. We had to meet with a gene doctor, and pediatric neurologist, and it was scary. It was very uncomfortable. It's scary. And they told us that he was probably never going to walk at 6 months. They were like, yep, he's probably never going to walk. I mean, we don't know for sure, but like the way he's showing, there's been less than a dozen cases ever recorded in history with the 2 gene mutations that he has. And the ones that have been recorded, 30% of them have developed this brain tumor. So we have to give him an MRI every 6 months of his life, or 6 months of his early life, because it's an early childhood thing. And the chances of him developing,
there's only they've had note of 12 cases of less. Oh my!
Of these 2 different genes that have been mutated. So like they run the gene study, the whatever exome or whatever it is, and then they flag anything that's out of sequence so that they can detect what's going on. And they've only seen these 2 genes under 12 times. So that day was, I can't even begin to describe hearing that from these like 2 very serious doctors, right? That your son most likely will never walk. And, he's got a 30% chance of getting some very troublesome brain cancer. Like those are like the two things you don't ever want to hear as a parent, right? And so Donna and I walked out of there and we were just not, we didn't know what to do. But in my mind, I was just like, no. Oh, nope. I'm going to fix this, whatever I got to do, I'm going to fix it, figure it out. And so we immediately connected with early interventionists, and we had this guy come into our house for a while and work with Dakota. Suffice to say, Dakota is riding four-wheelers, playing soccer, doing gymnastics, deadlifting 70 pounds, kicking my ass on the poker table, has the best personality you've ever met, can run, jump, dance, laugh, all those things. Nothing, zero. He's got a balance thing. There's no doubt. And we're going to work through it. And he's going to, once he gets a little older and realizes that that's a thing, I'm sure he's going to want to work through it as well. But God, I am so grateful. And all I could say with all the shit that happened to me in the past and the stuff that I went through there, on the other side of fear is freedom. Run to the fucking fear. You feel it, run at it as fast as you can, because I know for sure that on the other side of it is freedom, no matter what the fucking outcome is. But running from it, running around it, hiding, putting it under the rug, it's always there. And so through all these moments in my journey, I've learned that I look for the fear. A lot of people don't want to. Mm-hmm. And when it came to my son, Dakota, when that happened, it was so hard. So hard to understand that philosophy. Run at this thing? I don't want anything to do with this. Mm-hmm. I want to run so far away and pretend this has never happened. The thoughts that were going through my mind, how can this happen to me? How can this happen? And I'm like, dude, you? This isn't happening to you. Fucking attack it. Attack it. Figure it out. Fucking go. And some people would say, oh, men always just want to fix things. In some cases, yeah. I learned very quickly, with my wife, like, I don't try to fix anything, and I had to learn that, especially when she was pregnant, especially when she was giving birth. I ain't fixing shit. But, I have gotten better at, when Donna says, hey, there's something wrong, me being like, oh yeah, let me help you. Instead just being like, no, baby, I love you. I love you. That's it, and, and I'll ask her if she, I'll wait for her to ask me to try to help fix it. But if she doesn't, I've learned, dude, don't play mix or fix it with your wife.
Even if she wants you to fix it, she really doesn't want you to fix it. Like that's the old curveball.
So, I'm blessed with these two boys. I live for hanging out with them, even though it's hard to disconnect. I do something, which is a little habit that I'm happy to share because it's been so helpful for me when I do it, and I don't do it every day. But I try to do it as often as possible. I shut the computer every single day at 5:30. I shut it. And I don't open it up until the next morning. I shut the computer. I get in my truck I leave my office. I put on music. I get to my driveway at 5:53. I pull halfway up my driveway. I put the car in park, close my eyes, and I do box breathing for like 3 minutes. And because what happened was I had zero buffer between work and family. I would get home and I'd plow. I'd blast right through the doors in work mode, not dad mode. Yeah. I'm like everything, or I'm like, I got this, and then I've got these kids around me and they're in my way. You guys are in my way. Mm-hmm. Stop asking. What do you want from me? Mm-hmm. I'm working. Mm-hmm. I'm working. And then one day I came home, and this is probably 2 years ago. And I came home on the phone, walking through the door on the phone. And I'm standing at the kitchen counter, and we have dinner every night at 6. So I know at dinner, I cannot be on the phone. It's just, I get yelled at.
You're getting shit done right now for the.
And my son Finn is standing here, and he's like, Dad. And I didn't even look up. And he's like, Dad. And I'm like, Finn, don't you see? And I stopped. And that makes me cry. That makes me want to cry too, because I know now that all that kid wants from me is my attention. That kid only wants me to say, yeah, son, what's up, dude? How was your day? Looking at him. That's all he wants. He wants me to high five him, give him a hug, and say, let's go have dinner, man. And I couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. I was caught in this thing. And man, that kicked me in the jaw hard, because I thought back and I was like, how many times have I done that? How many times have I
can't count how many times I've done that, man. I get it. I mean, I truly get it. And I get the reflecting back and the emotion and how hard that is. The guilt, the not showing up. So simple. All they want, they don't want much. And I realized that when it didn't affect me, I didn't have awareness around it. And it's like the awareness brings up I'm a bad guy for not showing up. And it's like, no, that was where I was at. I was unconscious to what the fuck was going on. There was something else driving me. There was this paternal, I need to provide, and this is part of me providing, but it is and it isn't. And just that separation that you're sharing right now, and putting in these good habits to allow us to show up in all the ways that are really meaningful to us. But when it comes online, the first instinct is, I'm a piece of shit. How did I fucking miss this? I'm turning into my dad. I'm turning into this. I'm like, whatever the story is, no, you fucking can change it right now. That's what.
Yeah. And so now what it looks like is very different. I drive most of the time. I do a little breath work to give myself a transition from work to family. If box breathing doesn't get me out of it, then I'll do this double inhale, long, slow exhale.
I heard you and Jason talking about this.
Yeah. The double inhale, long, slow exhale, which it's kind of like this. And I just blow as slow and steady, but as much air as I can out. I actually heard Andrew Huberman talk about that breath. And it's very impactful. If you do that 5 to 10 times, you will feel baselined. You'll feel very different. Pretty amazing. But so I do that, and then my phone's on airplane mode. I never walk into the house on the phone, ever, ever, ever. I do not look at the phone at all. I'm in the house and I'm there. Sometimes I'm still not there. I do my best.
That's right.
But I'm fucking there and I'm not on the phone, and I do not pick up that phone, or I do not open the computer. Doesn't get open unless my wife and I are looking at something together, but I don't turn on the phone again until 8:30. The kids are down. I don't do it. I refuse to. I will not do it because I know how, like, when I looked in Finn's eyes, when he was just asking for me to say, I love you, or hey, Dad, the vision that I got of how sad he looked when I said, dude, don't you see what I'm doing? I was like, how could I fucking do that? How could I, like, you know, and then I would like play the tape and be like, well, my dad did a lot worse. And I'm like, is that what you want to compare it to? Is that what you want to compare your, no, dude, you don't have to do the fucking email at 5:59. You don't have to. Nothing's going to happen. And if anybody has anything to say about it, go fuck yourself. Come talk to me. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I'm with my family. You don't like it? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. This is what I'm doing. I have the confidence today to say that. Yeah, well, okay, man, you think that, you know, what makes a great entrepreneur is someone that's going to work 16 hours a day and bang their head against the wall and everybody around them hates them. And, you know, I don't know, dude, I can figure out how to do it in 7 or 8 hours a day. That's where I'm at. And obviously, if we're in a pinch and things need to get done, things get done. But on a regular basis, no, I've put in the time, I've put in the energy, I've put in the work, I've put in the hours. I work 7 or 8 hours a day and I'm with my family. Unless it's absolutely necessary, you know? And anybody who's listening, I promise you, if you're a parent, one, if you're not having dinner with your family every night together, start doing that, because that is powerful stuff. And two, commit to shutting your phone down after 6 o'clock. The cell phone is the worst thing that's happened to mankind in history, worse than any war, worse than anything. Why? Because it's affected every single human on the planet. And we are detaching from each other. And I'm not downplaying any catastrophe that's happened over the course of history. I am just saying that it is the worst thing that's happened to mankind because it has affected every single human on the planet that has access to a phone, which is most of us. Doesn't matter where you are financially, most of us have a phone. Homeless people are on the phone. I see it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't intentionally separate yourself from it, it will intentionally suck you dry and take you away from everything that means anything. Sorry.
No, it's a vortex, and it's like you get shot out the other side and you're like, what the fuck just happened? And yeah, it's generally not good stuff. Okay, so I've kept you long enough. This has been amazing. And it was, yeah. My podcasts lately have been about an hour 15. And this was...
How long are we going?
2.5.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And there's a lot more to cover. So I'm grateful for you. So grateful for, I mean, again, this has been kind of the theme, but how you showed up here and everything you shared, a lot of tenderness, a lot of vulnerability. And I think, God, everyone who's listening is taking away a lot. You know, whatever for them is their medicine is there for them. So thank you for that. If people want a little more color on your background, particularly with Meatball Shop and Seymour's or anything else, we'll link to the episode you did with Lance on his podcast, The Forward. That was excellent. So you can learn more about Michael there. Kreaturesofhabit.com with a K. We'll link to that. Sign up for Meal One. Now I heard you and Jonathan talking. Is there where are you at with the?
Not yet.
Okay.
We're keeping that a secret.
Yeah.
But we're working on another product.
Not that. I'm talking about the name.
Oh, the name. We're sticking with oatmeal one.
Okay.
Why? What's your thought on it? You like Creatures Oats better?
It was compelling. It was a compelling story when you guys were talking about it.
We've been back and forth. The challenge of changing the name, because it was originally...
That's when it got a little sticky. It's like, oh, there's a lot that has to happen.
It's a lot. It's the whole entire website, all the content, every piece of content is now useless that we've created in the past.
Yeah, that's a problem. And that's not the world I live in, giving advice for that shit. So just so you know, going forward...
The truth is, it actually would... realistically, like, we can make all the content. The packaging would look exactly the same. Most people call it Creatures anyway.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be that... I don't think it would hurt the business, but it would require just a lot of work to bring everything up to it. Yeah. It's still not completely off the table, but...
No. I'm just saying, like, it's great you ask me, but just know that I don't really care about that stuff. And if I have an opinion, it's not really grounded in anything.
But so I love hearing
it's just not where I live. We'll link to you on Instagram as well, Michael Chernow.
You have a promo code for the stuff too, right?
KOHTGU 20. So those are the numerals 2 and 0, not the word 20. So you get that. We'll link to it in the show notes.
I just want to finish with one last thing that I think is important to say.
Absolutely.
After all of that shit.
You can finish with as many things as you want to say.
I just believe no matter how hard it is or where you're at, everyone who's listening, and if you have a friend who's struggling with something or not, you should share the podcast if you enjoyed it. But just know, every single person that's walking on the planet today, breathing with their heart beating, has gotten through everything in their life to date. You've gotten through everything. You've literally gotten through everything. You just have. Every problem, fear, awesome thing, accomplishment, everything. We've all gotten through it all. And you might be sitting in the middle of something really scary right now. But I promise you, unless you die, you're going to get through it. And the reason why I know that is because I used to write my fears out. And I haven't done this in a little bit, but I used to write my fears out every single week or every not every day, but every week if there was something that was really bothering me. And then I'd go look back on the fears that I wrote out 3 months later. And I'd see how many of them actually came true. You'd be surprised. None of them. If maybe one, maybe. The amount of energy and time we spend thinking about the things that are going to happen in a bad way. So I just want to say you've gotten through everything in your life so far. Everything.
I've never heard it said that way. That's beautiful. Yeah. And I don't want to forget the Creatures of Habit podcast as well. So we'll link to that. We are going to get a little workout in. You're going to cook dinner tonight.
I'm going to cook dinner.
Put that culinary school education to work. Let's fucking go.
Yep. From the best. We got some good steaks.
Oh, hell yeah.
We got some good steaks.
I
got to figure out how to get both of these workouts in, man.
I know. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
I got a plan. Okay.
Sweet. This was awesome.
Yeah, I love you, man. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, dude.